Welcome, everyone. This is an Arcola Bible Church podcast, and I'm your host, Mark Kalpskov. We're just a passing through. A fact we all acknowledge, but conveniently forget most of the time. So, making ourselves comfortable and secure becomes a major focus of our lives. But what or who do we choose to serve to get that security? Let's go back in time to when the Israelites had this choice.
Joshua 24, verse 15. But if serving the Lord seems undesirable to you, then choose for yourselves this day whom you will serve, whether the gods your ancestors served beyond the Euphrates, or the gods of the Amorites in whose land you are living. But as for me and my household, we will serve the Lord.
Thank you, Heidi. I have Jason Rogers with me today, and we're going to talk about a super important subject for followers of Christ. But before we do that, Jason, who are you? Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Sure, Mark. Thanks for having me on. I've lived in the Dulles South community since 2007, and have been doing ministry in this area since for the past 8 years or so. 6 of those with Fellowship of Christian Athletes, where I'm a character coach over at John Champ High School, and have been served on the board for Loudoun County for 6 years now, and have been an elder at Crosspoint Church. We meet over at Willard, and been doing that for 8 years now. So pretty plugged into the community and some of the ministry issues here, and really looking forward to the conversation. Now,
the conversation. So you approached me with a subject, an important question, and I was a little bit intrigued by it. So what's the big question?
As I've walked around in this community and worked with the kids on the football team over at Champ, and through multiple things that we've done both in the church and through FCA, I've come to this thing where people they put other things in front of God. And you don't even really notice that you're doing it. What is the king that's in your life? Like, who or what is it that you serve?
Okay. So that does sound like an important question. And I guess even in a secular sense, people will still say, hey, what's the most important thing for you? People are very familiar with that question. All right. So tell us a bit more.
Well, as humans, I really feel like we're built to serve something or someone. It's something that's just built into us as humans, and you could see that in all aspects of life. We serve causes, we serve movements, and we serve things in our life. We serve the career that we want. We, as Americans, we serve what we call the American dream, which is kind of this fluid thing that says that we should be able to have, this comfort level that is afforded to us at, a certain level of, I guess you would say, middle America. It's just ubiquitous, that we look for these things, and through that we serve certain things. We can serve money. We could serve, career and advancement. We could serve, things that are even apparently good things, like family, which is always going to be a good thing, but it can go over the line. Ministry. A lot of us, look at sacrifices that we make for ministry, but the question has to be: Are you serving God, or are you serving the position? To things that are more destructive in our lives, like drug and alcohol, gambling, sex, all of these things that can be the thing that's more important. And what I try to explain to people is that when I say king, you have to think of, why was a king ever put in place? And it was a king is put in place as somebody that makes us feel safe and secure, something in our life that makes us feel safe and secure. And that thing that we reach back to when the floor kind of falls out from under you. What is it that makes you feel safe and secure? And when the world turns over, what do you cling to? What do you reach out for? A lot of us over the past year have, felt that in a very real sense, maybe more real than we've ever felt it before. And, when lockdown started and everything else, what was it that you reached out for? For a lot of people, the first thing that they did was they went and they looked at their 401k and said, oh my God, what just happened? The bottom just fell out of this thing. What should I do? And, a lot of people went to, hoarding items and, doing things that would make them feel safe and secure. I'm going to venture to guess that the first thing that a lot of people in this community did was not pray to God and say, God, I know that you've got this, you're in control, and I have full faith that you're going to deliver us through this.
So what you're saying is that it's subtle, but it goes on, and probably in an increasing measure, that we transfer our allegiance and our dependence away from God and onto a lot of material things. And although we wouldn't say we're not like bowing down to an idol, like the end of our street, we have a Hindu temple, and they literally bow down and offer little fruit offerings and things to idols placed in the wall around the temple. We're not actually doing that, but yet in another sense, we really are giving our allegiance to the wrong place.
Yeah, I mean, nothing makes that more stark than just looking at the political environment that we've worked with in the last year. You could go last 5 years. The real question is do you believe God's in control, or do you think that a political entity has control? And just the passion that you saw over the last election cycle shows that for a lot of people, the steering of life as we know it hinges on a political party. And that's within Christian circles and outside Christian circles. And the truth is that God's either in control or he's not.
Right. Okay, you have a biblical example that you wanted to share with us that seems very appropriate to where we are. Tell us about that.
Yeah, when you read through the time period, where God delivers the Israelites, out of Egypt into Canaan. When you fast forward there a little bit, you go through the Judges, and right at the tail end of that, in 1 Samuel chapter 8. Israel demands a king. And it's interesting because, you see that, Samuel's sons are the judges over Israel at the time, and they had become corruptible. They were taking handouts. They were, not being good stewards of the funds of the people, and they were kind of tired of it. And they demanded to have a king like every other country that's out there that could judge them. And the interesting thing is God was their king. God is the one that they had. God had delivered them through so many things. And when you read through the entire story, you sit there and see how short-sighted, and it's almost comical for us to look at the Hebrews and say, man, don't you remember the walls of Jericho coming down? Don't you remember the Red Sea parting? Don't you? These things aren't that distant of memories. You wouldn't think. We're reading it as a continuous story, but these things were absolute miracles. And we sit there and say, man, if I saw one of those things happening, like I'd have immense faith. And the truth is that we could see that happen, and we're fallible people. And we would disavow it just like these guys did. When we get to verse 6, it says, But the thing displeased Samuel when they said, "Give us a king to judge us." And Samuel prayed to the Lord. And the Lord said to Samuel, "Obey the voice of the people in all that they say to you, for they have not rejected you, but they have rejected me from being king over them. According to the deeds that they have done from the day I brought them out of Egypt to this day, forsaking me and serving other gods, so they also do to you. Now then, obey their voice. Only you shall solemnly warn them and show them the ways of the king who shall reign over them." And Samuel goes on to tell them all of these things that a king's going to do. A king isn't going to work in your best interest. A king is going to serve himself because we as people serve ourselves. A king isn't going to always look out for you as an individual. A king is going to say, what's best for this kingdom? A king isn't always going to serve God first.
All right, so draw the analogy back to us.
When you get down to the root of what they were looking for, is they were looking at all these other nations out there that had these people that were bigger than life, that made those people feel safe and secure. And the faith of Israel at the time was such that they didn't feel safe and secure. They saw all of these people, the palace, all of these people at their doorstep saying, well, we're going to invade. And they were more powerful than they were. And they were looking for a bigger than life person that was going to make them feel safe and secure. And when we really look at ourselves and what we elevate to that pedestal, let's just take job security. For every person that's feels secure in their money, there's another person who's house poor, and everybody knows what the real estate market's like right now. And it is real easy to make every decision in your life based upon your job security and the income that you have coming in. Because in the end, that is what makes you feel safe and secure. If that was ripped out from under you, all of a sudden, what do you reach out for? I've met people that have the faith that, they sit there and they have immense belief that God will keep them, God will protect them throughout whatever happens in their life. And every time I meet one of those people, I put a little check mark there and say, oh my God, I wish that I had that faith all the time. And when you really look at it and you see the difference between a person that lives in the faith of God and a person who is reaching out to something else in order to make them feel safe and secure, it is a stark contrast.
A sobering question to ask ourselves. Who are we really trusting in? Jason will be back with us to continue our conversation, and he'll encourage most of us to make some changes. See you all next time.